their horse slipped on the ice. The cowboy caught the bridle, saying, "It's over, you're all right." Emily woke early that morning, before the sun had fully risen. The sky was a pale, cold gray, and the ground was covered in a thin layer of frost. She pulled on her thick coat, tightened the scarf around her neck, and stepped outside into the crisp winter air. Her horse, Silver, was waiting patiently in the small barn near the edge of her property, stamping its hooves lightly in the cold. She brushed Silver's coat slowly, feeling the warmth of his body beneath her hands. The soft smell of hay and leather filled the air, calming her nerves. Riding Silver in the early morning had always been a ritual, a way to feel free and peaceful before the noise of the world began. She led him out of the barn and onto the narrow path that ran along the frozen fields. Each step made a soft crunch in the frost, and the cold air filled her lungs with sharp freshness. Emily loved these quiet moments when the world seemed to belong only to her and Silver. The countryside was silent, except for the distant sound of a stream and the occasional bird calling from a bare tree. The snow lay thinly on the ground, glistening under the first faint light of the morning. The air smelled of earth, ice, and the faint warmth from Silver's breath. As they walked along the path, Emily thought about the day ahead. She had work to do at the small farm she managed with her family, but for now, this ride was hers. She adjusted the reins slightly and let Silver move faster, the horse responding instantly with smooth, elegant steps. The wind rushed past her face, and she felt her worries melt away with each gallop. This was her escape, the part of her life where she felt completely alive. The path led them to the edge of a small stream that ran through the valley. The water was frozen, but not completely solid. A thin layer of ice covered most of it, and she could see the dark water slowly moving beneath. Emily had crossed this spot many times before, and she knew the ice could hold Silver's weight. Yet there was a part of her that hesitated this time. She stopped and studied the ice, her heart beating a little faster than usual. The frost made it look safe, but the ground was never fully predictable. She shook her head slightly, trying to calm her rising nervousness. "Well, be careful, Silver," she whispered, patting his neck. Silver seemed to understand. He nuzzled her hand gently, as if to reassure her that everything would be fine. Emily mounted him carefully, settling into the familiar rhythm of riding. The leather of the saddle creaked softly as Silver shifted beneath her. She took a deep breath and guided him toward the ice, her mind focused on keeping him steady. Each step was slow and careful, and she could feel the slight tremble beneath his hooves as they landed on the frozen surface. The sound of ice cracking softly under weight made her pulse quicken, but Silver stayed balanced. She whispered encouragement, stroking his mane, feeling the bond between them strengthen with every step. The valley around them was breathtaking. Snow-covered fields stretched out in every direction, dotted with bare trees that stood like silent sentinels. The sky was now brightening slowly, tinged with the soft pink and orange of the rising sun. Emily felt a sense of peace she rarely found elsewhere. She loved the way the light reflected off the ice, making it shine like glass. The cold was sharp but invigorating, waking every sense in her body. Even Silver seemed to enjoy it, his ears flicking forward and his nostrils flaring as he breathed in the crisp air. As they continued across the frozen stream, Emily allowed Silver to pick up a gentle trot. Her hands were steady on the reins, her eyes scanning the ice carefully. The horse moved with grace, each step deliberate and careful. Emily felt the joy of movement, the thrill of being in sync with Silver, the world around them alive yet calm. She smiled, enjoying the sensation of freedom and the silent rhythm of the ride. The ice held, and for a moment she felt completely safe, completely in control. But nature is never entirely predictable. A small, hidden patch of black ice shimmered faintly under the sun. Emily didn't see it at first. Her attention was on Silver and the beauty surrounding them. The moment they stepped onto it, Silver's hoof slipped slightly. She gasped and gripped the reins tightly, feeling the sudden terrifying shift beneath her. Silver steadied himself, his muscles tense, and Emily exhaled slowly, trying to calm her pounding heart. Her hands shook, and she patted his neck, whispering, "It's okay. You're okay." Even though they recovered, The incident left her wary. She slowed Silver down to a cautious walk, scanning the ice more carefully. Every step now felt significant, and Emily realized how quickly things could change, even in a familiar place. The beauty of the morning was tinged with a small, quiet fear. She felt her heart racing, a reminder of how delicate life could be in an instant. Silver seemed to sense her tension and stayed close, his calm presence grounding her. The ride continued, but Emily's thoughts were divided between the beauty around her and the fragile safety beneath them. She admired the sparkling frost on the branches, the way the sunlight danced across the fields, but she remained alert. Every crack in the ice made her heart skip, and every step was measured. Yet she couldn't let fear take over. She leaned into Silver's rhythm, trusting him as she always had. The bond they shared, built over years of riding together, was strong. She knew that he would respond to her guidance, just as she responded to his movements. By the time they reached the wider fields beyond the stream, Emily felt a mixture of relief and exhilaration. The tension of the slippery ice had faded, replaced by the soft joy of the open land. She allowed Silver to pick up a trot again, feeling the wind against her face. Her worries from the small slip seemed distant now. But the countryside opened up before them, fields stretching toward distant hills painted in frost and sunlight. Birds flew overhead, their calls echoing through the quiet winter air. Emily felt alive in a way that only moments like this could bring. Yet even in this peaceful ride, Emily couldn't forget the reminder of the morning. Life was delicate, and moments could change in an instant. She resolved to be careful, to pay attention to the small signs nature gave, and to trust her instincts. Silver responded to her gentle guidance, moving easily across the field, his steps sure and strong. Together they shared a silent understanding, a connection that went beyond words. Each movement was a conversation, each breath a shared experience. As the morning progressed, Emily allowed herself to relax a little more, enjoying the rhythm of the ride. She guided Silver along the narrow paths that wound through the hills, feeling the familiar rise and fall beneath her. The sunlight grew warmer, reflecting off the frost and casting long shadows across the fields. The winter morning was alive with color, sound, and movement, and Emily felt a deep gratitude for this world she could explore on horseback. By the time they began to circle back toward the barn, Emily's heart had settled. The excitement of the morning ride, the momentary fear on the ice, had given way to a calm satisfaction. She felt closer than ever to Silver and to the quiet beauty of the countryside. Each step toward home was steady and confident. Emily knew she would remember this ride for a long time. The chill of the morning, the sparkle of the ice, and the sense of freedom that only comes from trusting oneself and the horse beside you. As they returned to the barn, Emily brushed Silver again, speaking softly to him, her fingers tracing the contours of his warm coat. She felt a sense of peace, a quiet pride in having faced the small challenge of the ice and come through safely. The sun now warmed the frost-covered ground, and the world seemed to shimmer with new possibilities. Emily knew she would ride again, carefully, joyfully, and with a deeper respect for the fragile, beautiful moments that life offered. Emily felt a quiet confidence as she guided Silver across the frozen fields. The morning had started calm and beautiful, and she believed that the small slip on the ice earlier had been only a warning, not a danger. Silver moved steadily beneath her, his hooves making soft thuds on the frosted ground. The air was sharp and fresh, each breath filling her lungs with a sense of life and alertness. She could see the distant hills rising gently against the pale sky, and the sunlight glimmered faintly on patches of frost that had not yet melted. Everything seemed peaceful, almost magical, but she could feel the lingering tension from the morning. The ice had reminded her how careful one must be in nature. As they approached a bend in the narrow path, Emily noticed the stream widening slightly. Its surface was covered in ice, but some patches were thinner than they appeared. She slowed Silver, carefully watching each step he took. She loved these rides, but she also knew that the winter countryside could be unpredictable. One wrong step, one hidden patch of black ice, could change everything in an instant. Her eyes scanned the ground carefully, and she felt Silver's body tense beneath her. He was alert too, sensing her caution. For a while, the ride was peaceful. Silver trotted lightly, his breath creating small clouds in the cold air. Emily felt the rhythm of his movement, the steady rise and fall beneath her, and she allowed herself to relax. She ran her hand along his neck, whispering to him, "Good boy, Silver, we're doing fine." The sound of her voice seemed to calm him further. The valley was quiet, except for the soft crunch of hooves on frost and the distant murmur of the stream. Birds flew overhead, their calls echoing across the frozen fields. It was a scene that could have been painted by an artist, perfect and serene. But the illusion of calm did not last. As they moved closer to the center of the stream, Emily noticed a darker patch of ice beneath Silver's hooves. Her heart skipped a beat. She tried to pull him slightly to the side, but it was too late. Silver's hoof slipped sharply on the thin ice. Emily gasped, gripping the reins tightly. Her stomach dropped as she felt the horse lose balance for a moment. Silver instinctively tried to regain footing, but the ice gave way beneath him. Panic surged through Emily, and she whispered quickly, "Hold on, Silver, hold on." Silver skidded on the ice, his hooves sliding unpredictably. Emily felt herself being jolted from side to side as she struggled to maintain control. The cold wind whipped against her face, making her eyes water, and the icy ground shimmered dangerously beneath them. Emily's heart pounded in her chest. She realized, in that moment, how fragile safety could be, and how quickly a beautiful ride could turn into fear. She tried to keep Silver calm, whispering soft words and leaning with his movements, but the ice was unforgiving, and her control felt slipping away. At the same time, a figure appeared in the distance, moving quickly across the snow. It was a man on foot, boots crunching against the frozen ground. He was tall, wearing a wide-brimmed hat and a thick coat, and he carried himself with a sense of confidence that came from years of experience outdoors. Emily could barely make out his face, but she sensed that he was coming toward them. Every step Silver took on the ice was risky, and the thought of what could happen if they fell made her stomach tighten. The man called out to her, his voice carrying across the frozen valley, sharp and urgent. "Hey, stay calm! I've got you!" the man shouted. His tone was firm but reassuring, as if he had done this many times before. Emily felt a glimmer of hope. She focused on his voice, using it as a guide, and urged Silver to move toward him. The horse's hooves slid dangerously on the ice, but somehow he managed to stay upright, following Emily's gentle guidance. The man, a cowboy named Jake, closed the distance with long, purposeful strides. His eyes were fixed on them, full of concentration and readiness. He reached the stream just as Silver began to struggle more seriously to keep his balance. Emily's grip on the reins was tight, her knuckles white. She whispered encouragement to Silver, trying to soothe both of them. "It's okay, Silver. Stay with me. You can do this." She could feel his muscles trembling beneath her, and the fear of slipping and falling into the icy water made her heart pound even faster. The ice cracked faintly under the weight of Silver's hooves, and the sound made her panic spike. Yet, there was something about Jake's presence that made her feel a little more secure. He moved carefully but quickly, reaching out to the horse with steady hands. Jake grabbed the bridle firmly but gently, speaking softly to Silver as he did. "It's over, you're all right," he said, his voice calm and certain. Emily felt a wave of relief wash over her. Silver shivered slightly but seemed to relax under Jake's guidance. The cowboy carefully guided the horse back onto solid ground, one careful step at a time. Emily could hardly believe how quickly he had appeared, how confident he was in managing the situation. The moment was tense, but Jake's experience and calm presence made all the difference. Once Silver was safely on solid ground, Emily slid down from the saddle, her legs weak from tension. She ran her hands along Silver's neck, feeling his warmth and strength, whispering soothing words. "You're okay, Silver. You're safe now." Jake stood nearby, watching the horse carefully, making sure he was fully stable. Emily looked at him, gratitude shining in her eyes. "Thank you," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't been here," Jake nodded, brushing snow from his coat. "Horses can sense fear." "You stayed calm, and that helped him," he said. His voice was steady, reassuring. You both did well. Just remember, ice is unpredictable. Even the best horse can slip.
Emily nodded, understanding the weight of his words.
She realized how lucky she had been, how quickly danger could have turned into disaster. Her heart was still racing, but the fear was beginning to fade, replaced by relief and gratitude. Silver nuzzled Jake's hand gently, recognizing the kindness and calm in him. Emily smiled, feeling the bond between them all, human and animal alike. The world seemed quieter now, almost reverent after the near accident. The frost glistened in the sunlight, and the air was sharp but calming. Emily realized that moments like these, full of tension and relief, were what made life feel alive. She could still feel the adrenaline in her veins, the memory of the ice sliding beneath them, but she also felt a deep sense of gratitude for Jake's help, and for Silver's resilience. After a few minutes, Emily took a deep breath and allowed herself to relax. She patted Silver one last time, her hands warm against his cold coat. "We're safe," she whispered. "Thanks to him, we're safe." Jake gave a small smile, tipping his hat slightly. "Just doing what anyone would," he said. Emily shook her head. "No, not anyone. You were calm, quick, and steady. That made all the difference." There was a quiet respect between them, an unspoken acknowledgement of the danger that had passed and the relief that now filled the morning. Emily climbed back onto Silver carefully, feeling his steady movements beneath her. She looked at Jake, who gave her a nod of encouragement. The morning sun had risen higher now, casting golden light across the frosted fields. Emily guided Silver slowly back along the path, her senses alert but her heart lighter. The accident had reminded her of the fragile balance of life, but it had also shown her the kindness and skill of someone who truly understood horses. As they walked, Emily reflected on the morning's events. She realized that courage came in many forms. The courage to stay calm, the courage to trust. Jake had shown all of these, and in doing so he had given her and Silver a second chance. Emily felt a deep appreciation for him, for Silver, and for the beauty of the winter morning that, despite its danger, had revealed the best in both human and horse. The rest of the ride was quieter, filled with gentle conversation and careful steps. Emily let Silver move at a slow trot, enjoying the rhythm and the warmth returning to her body. The danger of the ice was behind them, replaced by a feeling of safety and connection. The frost sparkled in the sunlight, and the valley seemed peaceful once more. Birds sang softly, and the wind carried a hint of warmth. Emily felt alive in a way that only comes after facing fear and finding safety. By the time they returned to the edge of the property, Emily's heart had fully calmed. She dismounted, brushing Silver carefully and speaking softly to him. She felt a profound sense of relief, gratitude, and admiration for the cowboy who had saved them. The world felt bright and alive, and Emily knew she would remember this morning for the rest of her life. She had faced danger, and with help, had come through it stronger and more aware. Emily's hands were still trembling slightly as she held Silver's reins, feeling the warmth of his neck beneath her palms. The shock of nearly slipping on the ice had not fully faded, but seeing Jake so calm and skilled gave her a sense of safety she could almost lean into. Silver shifted slightly, his hooves crunching on the frosty ground, and Emily whispered to him, trying to soothe both herself and the horse. She realized just how close they had come to disaster, and her heart still pounded with the memory of the slippery ice beneath their feet. Jake crouched beside Silver, his hand steady as he adjusted the horse's bridle. "Easy, boy. It's okay now," he said in a soft, confident voice. His presence was reassuring, and Emily found herself taking a slow, steadying breath. She could see the care in his eyes as he guided Silver onto solid ground. The horse's muscles were still tense, and his ears twitched at every sound. Emily reached out and stroked his mane, whispering, "We're okay, Silver. We're safe." Her voice shook slightly, betraying the mix of fear and relief she felt. "Let him feel safe," Jake said, noticing her tension. "Horses can sense your fear. If you calm yourself, he'll calm too." Emily nodded, realizing the truth in his words. She took another deep breath, trying to steady her racing heart. She let her hands rest gently on Silver's neck, and slowly the horse's body relaxed beneath her. Jake smiled faintly, satisfied. "Good," he said. "Now we can move him carefully." Step by step, Jake guided Silver across the patch of ice they had nearly fallen on. His hands were firm on the bridle, his movements slow and deliberate. Emily watched closely, learning from the calm authority in his actions. The world around them seemed to hold its breath. Snow glimmered in the pale sunlight, the frost-covered branches swayed gently in the cold wind, and even the birds seemed to pause as if waiting to see what would happen next. Every sound, every movement, felt sharper and more vivid. Silver shivered slightly as they moved, and Emily whispered, "It's all right, boy. You're okay." She could feel the horse's heartbeat under her hands, rapid and nervous, but slowly returning to normal. Jake guided him closer to solid ground, stepping carefully alongside him, watching for any sudden slips. Emily realized how dangerous the ice had been and how quickly everything could have turned. She felt a deep sense of gratitude for Jake's presence. Without him, she shivered at the thought of what might have happened. Once Silver was safely on firm ground, Jake let go of the bridle, but stayed close. "There we go," he said, his voice calm. "You're safe now." Emily slid from the saddle, her legs trembling, and wrapped her arms around Silver's neck. She felt a mixture of relief, gratitude, and awe at the strength of the horse and the skill of the cowboy who had saved them. "Thank you," she said softly, her voice filled with emotion. "I don't know what I would have done without you." Jake shook his head lightly, brushing snow from his coat. "You did well," he said. "You stayed calm, and that helped him. He trusted you, and that made my job easier." Emily smiled faintly, realizing how much courage she had needed without even noticing. "I guess I was scared," she admitted, "but I couldn't show it." "Not to him," she gestured to Silver, whose eyes seemed calm now, his breathing steady. "He feels everything." "That's right," Jake said. "Horses are very sensitive. They feel fear, hesitation, and even excitement. They need a steady hand and a steady heart." Emily looked at him, studying his calm, steady expression. She realized that his presence had been more than just physical help. His confidence, his knowledge, and his patience had given both her and Silver the courage to get through the danger. She felt a deep respect for him, and an unspoken connection formed between them in that quiet winter morning. The wind shifted slightly, brushing frost across their coats, and Emily felt the cold returning to her fingers. She rubbed her hands together, glancing at the frozen stream. The danger had passed, but the memory of slipping on the ice remained vivid. She looked down at Silver, nuzzling his neck gently, and whispered, "You were brave." "We were brave." The horse responded with a soft snort, shaking his head lightly as if to agree. Emily laughed softly, a sound of relief and shared triumph. Jake watched them with a faint smile, then took a step back. "Let him walk a little," he said. "He needs to feel safe moving on his own again." Emily guided Silver slowly along the snowy path, letting him regain confidence with each step. The horse moved tentatively at first, but soon his gait became steady and sure. Emily felt a sense of pride in his resilience, and she realized how much trust there was between them. She had relied on him, and he had relied on her. And now, with Jake's help, they had overcome the danger together. They reached a small hill, and Emily paused to catch her breath, the sunlight warming her face. "I can't believe this happened," she murmured, more to herself than to anyone else. "It was so fast, and yet," she gestured to Silver, who was now standing calmly beside her, "he stayed with me, and you were there." Jake nodded, his eyes following the horse carefully. "It happens fast," he said, "but if you stay calm and trust the horse, most of the time you make it through."
Emily looked at him, feeling a mixture of admiration and gratitude. "You make it sound so easy," she said.
But it wasn't easy. It was terrifying. Jake smiled faintly. "It never feels easy. You just learn to handle it, to trust your instincts and your horse." He paused, looking out over the frozen valley. "And sometimes you just need a little help. Emily nodded, thinking about how true that was. Sometimes courage came not only from oneself, but from the support of someone experienced and willing to step in. Silver shifted slightly, his ears flicking toward the wind. Emily patted his neck gently, whispering reassurance. She realized that the bond she shared with her horse was something rare and precious. It was not just trust, it was understanding, respect, and a shared rhythm that carried them through both joy and danger. He had always known Silver was brave, but now she felt a deeper connection than ever before. He had stayed steady under pressure, relying on her guidance, and together they had faced a moment that could have ended badly. Jake finally stepped back, giving Emily space to guide Silver back toward the barn. "Take it slow," he said. "Let him regain confidence. The rest will come naturally." Emily nodded, adjusting the reins gently. She allowed Silver to move forward at a calm, steady pace, feeling the solid ground beneath his hooves. Each step brought a sense of relief, a slow easing of the tension that had gripped her since the accident. She felt her pulse returning to normal and the chill of fear giving way to warmth and gratitude. As they walked, Emily reflected on the events of the morning. She realized that fear and courage often existed side by side, and that even a moment of panic could lead to growth and understanding. She thought about Jake, who had appeared just when they needed him most, calm and steady. She thought about Silver, whose strength and trust had carried them safely across the ice. And she thought about herself, realizing that she had stayed calm enough to guide him through the danger. It was a lesson in trust, patience, and the power of connection. By the time they reached the barn, the sun had climbed higher in the sky, casting a golden light across the frost-covered fields. Emily dismounted carefully, brushing Silver's coat gently. She spoke softly to him, praising his courage. "You were amazing today," she said. "I'm so proud of you." Silver responded with a gentle nuzzle, and Emily laughed softly, feeling her heart lift with relief and happiness. Jake watched them for a moment longer, then tipped his hat in farewell. "Be careful out there," he said. "And always trust your instincts." Emily nodded, smiling. "I will." "Thank you, truly." She felt a deep gratitude that went beyond words. This winter morning had started with peace and beauty, turned into fear and tension, and ended with safety, connection, and a lesson she would never forget. As she led Silver into the barn, Emily realized that life was full of unexpected challenges. Some could be faced alone, and some required the help of others. But every challenge carried a lesson, and every moment of courage, trust, and kindness left a mark. She knew that she would always remember the calm confidence of the cowboy who had saved them, the strength and bravery of her horse, and the quiet, beautiful winter morning that had tested them all. She lingered for a moment, looking out across the valley, feeling the warmth of the barn and the steady breathing of Silver. The danger had passed, but the memory of it, and the lesson it carried, would remain with her forever. Life was fragile, beautiful, and unpredictable, and in that unpredictability, she had discovered courage, trust, and the quiet power of human and animal connection. The morning had passed, leaving behind a soft golden light that warmed the frost-covered valley. Emily stood beside Silver in the barn, brushing his coat slowly, letting the horse shake off the tension of the near accident. Each stroke of the brush was calming, not just for Silver but for herself as well. She could still feel the adrenaline from the slip on the ice, her heart still beating a little faster than usual, but now it was replaced by a sense of quiet relief. The horse nuzzled her gently, as if reassuring her that everything was truly over. Emily smiled, grateful for his gentle presence. She took a deep breath, the smell of hay and leather filling her senses, grounding her. The morning had been a mix of beauty, fear, and relief, and now that it was behind them, Emily felt an overwhelming appreciation for the fragile balance of life. Every moment of calm, every gentle step across the frozen fields had been a gift. She reflected on how quickly things could change, from peace to tension, from beauty to danger, and realized how much courage and trust it took to face those moments. Silver shifted beside her, his hooves making soft sounds against the wooden floor of the barn. Emily smiled at him, running her hands along his neck. "We made it, Silver. We were brave, she whispered. The horse snorted softly, leaning into her touch. Emily felt a deep connection to him in that moment, a bond that went beyond words. It was a bond built on trust, understanding, and shared experiences. Moments of calm, moments of fear, and moments of triumph. She realized that her rides were never just about freedom or escape. They were about trust, patience, and the quiet strength of partnership. Her mind wandered to Jake, the cowboy who had appeared just in time to guide them to safety. She could still picture him crouched beside Silver, his hands steady and calm as he guided the horse off the ice. Emily felt a swell of gratitude. He had stepped in without hesitation, his experience and confidence turning a potentially dangerous situation into a lesson in courage and trust. She realized that human kindness often appears at the most unexpected moments, quietly shaping events and leaving lasting impressions. Emily thought about the lessons she had learned that morning. Nature was unpredictable, beautiful, and sometimes unforgiving. Every step, every decision mattered, and yet there was also room for trust in herself, in Silver, and in the people who shared the world with her. She understood now that bravery wasn't the absence of fear. It was the ability to stay calm and make careful choices despite it. She had felt fear, but she had also felt strength. The strength to guide Silver, to trust in his movements, and to accept help when it appeared. The sunlight had grown stronger, filtering through the small windows of the barn and casting warm patches on the wooden floor. Emily paused in her brushing, watching the light dance on Silver's coat. The horse looked calm now, his ears flicking attentively, his eyes soft and steady. Emily marveled at his resilience. Despite the near accident, he had remained composed, trusting her guidance and responding to her words. She felt a profound respect for him, realizing that courage often came in silent, steady forms rather than loud gestures. Outside the barn, the valley was quiet and still. Frost clung to the branches of the trees, sparkling in the late morning sunlight. The stream that had caused so much tension earlier now appeared serene, its icy surface reflecting the sky like a mirror. Emily looked at it and shivered slightly, remembering how quickly things had changed. She realized that beauty and danger often coexist, intertwined in ways that teach patience, awareness, and humility. Nature was a teacher, she thought, and today it had given her a lesson she would never forget. Emily guided Silver out of the barn and onto the small path that led back to the fields. She moved slowly, allowing him to regain confidence with each careful step. Every hoofbeat on the frost-covered ground reminded her of the balance they had maintained, the careful trust they had shared, and the quiet heroism of someone who knew how to intervene at just the right moment. She thought about Jake again, imagining him walking back toward his ranch, and she felt a wave of gratitude. Sometimes courage and skill show up in ordinary people, quietly changing the course of events. As they reached the edge of the valley, Emily paused to take in the view. The sun was now high enough to cast long shadows across the snow, creating a pattern of light and dark that seemed almost magical. Birds flew overhead, their calls filling the crisp air, and Emily felt a sense of calm she hadn't known she would find after the morning's events. She realized that moments of danger, when faced and overcome, often deepen one's appreciation for simple, beautiful things. The warmth of sunlight, the quiet movement of a horse, the sound of wind in the trees. Emily led Silver to a small clearing where the frost had begun to melt in the sunlight. She let him graze slowly, watching him lower his head to nibble the sparse winter grass. She felt a sense of peace settle over her, a quiet satisfaction that came from overcoming fear and embracing trust. She knelt beside Silver, her hands on the ground, feeling the cold earth and the steady warmth of his body. "We made it," she whispered again. "We were brave, together." She smiled at him, feeling the bond between them stronger than ever. Her thoughts returned to Jake as she watched Silver. She realized that the morning's events had not only tested her and Silver, but had also revealed the quiet heroism of someone willing to help without hesitation. Emily felt a renewed faith in the kindness of strangers and in the way people and animals can come together to overcome challenges. She knew that this experience would stay with her forever, a story she would remember not just for the fear and tension, but for the relief, trust, and gratitude that followed. The hours passed gently. Emily walked with Silver across the fields, letting him explore the familiar paths at a relaxed pace. She felt a deep appreciation for every sound, every movement, every moment of calm. Her mind replayed the morning, the slip on the ice, the 10 seconds of fear, Jake's calm hands guiding Silver, and the final relief of standing safely on solid ground. Each memory carried a lesson about trust, patience, and the quiet strength found in moments of uncertainty. As the sun began to lower in the sky, casting long, warm shadows across the valley, Emily guided Silver back toward the barn. The light was softer now, the frost sparkling faintly like tiny crystals in the fading glow. She felt a mixture of gratitude and reflection, understanding that life was fragile, beautiful, and unpredictable. Every day carried risks, but it also carried the potential for courage, connection, and quiet triumph. Emily knew that she and Silver had faced something significant, something that would remain with them as a reminder of their trust and resilience. Back in the barn, Emily removed Silver's saddle and brushed him carefully, speaking softly to him the whole time. "You were amazing today," she said. "We were amazing together." Silver responded with a gentle nuzzle, his calm eyes reflecting the bond they shared. Emily felt a deep sense of fulfillment. The morning's events had been challenging, but they had also strengthened her connection to Silver and her understanding of the world around her. She realized that every experience, even the frightening ones, could teach patience, courage, and gratitude. Emily paused, looking out the barn door at the valley bathed in the warm light of late afternoon. The snow sparkled, the wind whispered through the trees, and the stream reflected the colors of the sky. She felt a quiet sense of completion, a recognition that the danger had passed, the lesson had been learned, and the bond with Silver had grown even stronger. She knew that she would carry this morning with her always, the fear, the relief, the trust, and the quiet heroism that had saved them. As the evening approached, Emily fed Silver and made sure he was comfortable for the night. She felt a sense of gratitude for the simple routines that brought comfort and stability after the excitement of the day. The barn smelled of hay and warmth, and she could hear Silver's gentle breathing as he settled into the soft bedding. Emily sat nearby for a moment, reflecting on the morning. She realized that courage and trust are not always loud or dramatic. They are often quiet, steady, and deeply felt. Finally, Emily stepped outside one last time to watch the sunset. The sky was painted in soft shades of pink and gold. The valley bathed in a gentle glow. She felt the stillness of the evening wrap around her like a comforting blanket. Today had been a reminder of the fragility of life, the power of connection, and the importance of trust in oneself, in others, and in the world around us. Emily took a deep breath, letting the crisp air fill her lungs, and smiled softly. Life was unpredictable, beautiful, and full of lessons, and she felt ready to face each new day with gratitude and courage. As night approached, Emily closed the barn doors, feeling a quiet satisfaction. She had faced fear, experienced relief, and discovered the depth of trust between herself and Silver. The bond they shared had been tested and strengthened, and she knew it would guide them through many more rides, challenges, and quiet moments of beauty in the future. The memory of the morning, the ice, the near accident, Jake's calm guidance, and Silver's steady courage would remain with her forever. A story of trust, bravery, and quiet triumph in the winter valley they both loved.